Nicholas Edward Cave, born September 22, 1957, is an Australian singer, songwriter, author, screenwriter, composer and occasional actor, best known for fronting the rock band Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. Cave's music is generally characterized by his baritone voice, emotional intensity, a wide variety of influences and lyrical obsessions with death, religion, love and violence. Born and raised in rural Victoria, Cave studied art in Melbourne before fronting the Birthday Party, one of the city's leading post-punk bands, in the late 1970s. They relocated to London in 1980, but, disillusioned by life there, evolved towards a darker, more challenging sound that helped inspire gothic rock, and acquired a reputation as the most violent live band in the world. Cave became recognized for his confrontational performances, his shock of black hair and pale, emaciated look. The band broke up soon after moving to Berlin in 1982, and Cave formed Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds the year after, later described as one of rock's most redoubtable, enduring bands. Much of their early material is set in a mythic American Deep South, drawing on spirituals and Delta blues, while Cave's preoccupation with Old Testament notions of good versus evil culminated in what has been called his signature song, The Mercy Seat, 1988, and in his debut novel, And the Ass Saw the Angel, 1989. Also in 1988, he starred in Ghosts of the Civil Dead, an Australian prison film which he co-wrote and scored. The 1990s saw Cave move to Sao Paulo and find inspiration in the New Testament. He went on to achieve mainstream success with quieter, piano-driven ballads, notably the Kylie Minogue duet Where the Wild Roses Grow, 1996, and Into My Arms, 1997. Based in Brighton, England by the early 2000s, Cave wrote the Australian western The Proposition, 2005, composing its soundtrack with frequent collaborator Warren Ellis. The pair's film score credits include The Assassination of Jesse James by the Coward Robert Ford, 2007, The Road, 2009, and Lawless, 2012, and their garage rock side project Grinderman has released 2 LPs since 2006. In 2009, he released his second novel The Death of Bunny Monroe, and starred in the semi-fictional Day in the Life film 20,000 Days on Earth, 2014. His more recent musical work features ambient and electronic elements, as well as increasingly abstract lyrics, informed in part by grief over his son Arthur's 2015 death, which is explored in the documentary One More Time with Feeling, 2016, and the Bad Seeds' 17th and latest LP, Ghosteen, 2019. Cave maintains the Red Hand Files, a newsletter he uses to respond to questions from fans. His work is the subject of academic study, and his songs have been covered by a wide range of artists, including Johnny Cash, The Mercy Seat, Metallica, Lover Man, and Snoop Dogg, Red Right Hand. He was inducted into the ARIA Hall of Fame in 2007, and named an Officer of the Order of Australia in 2017. Youth, Education and Family. Cave was born on September 22, 1957 in Warwicknabeal, a small country town in the Australian state of Victoria, to Don Cave, Nay Treadwell, and Colin Frank Cave. As a child, he lived in Warwicknabeal and then Wangaratta in rural Victoria. His father taught English and mathematics at the local technical school. His mother was a librarian at the high school that Nick attended. Cave's father introduced him to literary classics from an early age, such as Crime and Punishment and Lolita, and also organized the first symposium on the Australian bushranger and outlaw Ned Kelly, with whom Nick was enamored as a child. When Cave was 9, he joined the choir of Wangaratta's Holy Trinity Cathedral. At 13, he was expelled from Wangaratta High School. In 1970, having moved with his family to the Melbourne suburb of Murrumbina, he became a boarder and later day student at Caulfield Grammar School. Through his older brother, Cave became a fan of progressive rock bands such as King Crimson, Pink Floyd, and Jethro Tull, with Robert Fripp and David Gilmour being his favorite guitarists at the time. He was 19 when his father was killed in a car collision. His mother told him of his father's death while she was bailing him out of a St. Kilda police station where he was being held on a charge of burglary. He would later recall that his father died at a point in my life when I was most confused and that the loss of my father created in my life a vacuum, a space in which my words began to float and collect and find their purpose. After his secondary schooling, Cave studied painting at the Caulfield Institute of Technology in 1976, but dropped out the following year to pursue music. He also began using heroin around the time that he left art school. Cave attended his first music concert at Melbourne's Festival Hall. The bill consisted of Manfred Mann, Deep Purple, and Free. Cave recalled, "I remember sitting there and feeling physically the sound going through me." In early 1977, he saw Australian punk rock groups Radio Birdman and the Saints live for the first time. Cave was particularly inspired by the latter band's show, saying that he left the venue a different person. Music career: early years and the birthday party, 1973 to 1983. In 1973, Cave met Mick Harvey, guitar, Phil Calvert, drums, John Kochivara, guitar, Brett Purcell, bass, and Chris Coyne, saxophone, fellow students at Caulfield Grammar. They founded a band with Cave as singer. Their repertoire consisted of rudimentary cover versions of songs by Lou Reed, David Bowie, Alice Cooper, Roxy Music, and Alex Harvey, among others. Later, the lineup slimmed down to 4 members, including Cave's friend Tracy Pugh on bass. In 1977, after leaving school, they adopted the name The Boys Next Door and began playing predominantly original material. Guitarist and songwriter Roland S. Howard joined the band in 1978. They were a leader of Melbourne's post-punk scene in the late 1970s, playing hundreds of live shows in Australia before changing their name to The Birthday Party in 1980 and moving to London, then West Berlin. Cave's Australian girlfriend and muse Anita Lane accompanied them to London. The band were notorious for their provocative live performances, which featured Cave shrieking, bellowing and throwing himself about the stage, backed up by harsh pounding rock music laced with guitar feedback. Cave utilized Old Testament imagery with lyrics about sin, debauchery and damnation. Cave's droll sense of humor and penchant for parody is evident in many of the band's songs, including Nick the Stripper and King Inc. Release the Bats, one of the band's most famous songs, was intended as an over-the-top piss take on Gothic rock, and a direct attack on the stock Gothic associations that less informed critics were wont to make. Ironically, it became highly influential on the genre, giving rise to a new generation of bands. After establishing a cult following in Europe and Australia, The Birthday Party disbanded in 1983. Later that year, Cave performed several shows in the United States as part of the Immaculate Consumptive, a short-lived supergroup with Mark Almond, Lydia Lunch, and Clint Ruin. Acting. Cave's first film appearance was in Wim Wenders' 1987 film Wings of Desire, in which he and the Bad Seeds are shown performing at a concert in Berlin. Cave has made occasional appearances as an actor. He appears alongside Blixa Bargeld in the 1988 Peter Sempel film Dandy, playing dice, singing and speaking from his Berlin apartment. He is most prominently featured in the 1989 film Ghosts of the Civil Dead, written and directed by John Hillcoat, and in the 1991 film Johnny Suede with Brad Pitt. Cave appeared in the 2005 homage to Leonard Cohen, I'm Your Man, in which he performed I'm Your Man solo, and Suzanne with Julie Christensen and Perla Batalha. He also appeared in the 2007 film adaptation of Ron Hansen's novel The Assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford, where he sings the Ballad of Jesse James. Cave and Warren Ellis are credited for the film's soundtrack. Nick Cave and his son Luke performed one of the songs on the soundtrack together. Luke played the triangle. His interest in the work of Edward Gorey led to his participation in the BBC Radio 3 program Guest Plus Host equals Ghost, featuring Peter Blegvad and the radiophonic sound of the Langham Research Center. Cave has also lent his voice in narrating the animated film The Cat Piano. It was directed by Eddie White and Ari Gibson, of the People's Republic of Animation, produced by Jessica Brentnell and features music by Benjamin Speed. Personal life and legacy. He was involved in a romantic relationship with Anita Lane from in the 1970s to the 1980s. He had a son with Vivienne Carnero in 1991. He remained married for 6 years and filed for divorce in 1996. Meanwhile, he fathered an illegitimate son Jethro, born in 1991 to Bo Lazenby. He then dated P.J. Harvey before he met Susie Bick in 1997. He married Bick in 1999. The couple has been blessed with twin sons, Arthur and Earl. He currently lives in Brighton, England.